Hey, we're back talking Miami football here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love each and every day. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. Is that achieved every day? No, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that's the aim, that's the goal, that's the mission. So we continue to strive for that. And to help us out tonight, of course, Cam Underwood, State of the U, to talk Miami football for a 122nd time. Cam, how you doing tonight?
Man, yeah, it's good to be here. This is over 2 full years worth of I mean, if you have one a week. But
Sure.
yeah, man. So getting to a third of a year for every video every day. I guess it's yeah, they add up over time. But no, I'm good. Glad to be here wearing my student section shirt from when I was an undergrad, La Fuerza. I think we got these in 01 or 02. It was quite large then, and it fits a little snugger now, but hey, glad to wear it.
Can you interpret for me?
The Force in Espanol.
Okay. I was a downloader and a patron of oh man, I forget the name of the app now. Duolingo,
yeah.
Yes, of course. For a while. I can't say that it really helped me. Not Duolingo's fault. My issue in terms of my steadfast diligence to learn the Spanish language after 2 years of Spanish in high school as well. All right. As always, we would like to remind everyone that you leave your comments, your questions, debate topics, whatever the like, in the live chat. I will review and get those onto Cam and or myself. And of course, your individual contributions build the channel, but they also specifically build and contribute to this show. So if you love the Miami football talk, which by all indications, many of you do, please consider that. And also like the videos, share them on social media, because unless you're a selfish person, if you enjoy the content, then others will as well. So share. All right, Cam. Of course, National Signing Day was 1 week ago plus a day, and but not much on the home front for Miami as they had locked up the class, which I checked out today as being the second rated in the ACC, according to 247 Sports, and number 12 in the nation. So on the subject of development, because now we're at a place where these guys are going to have to be developed and maximized their potential. Got a question for you regarding two Miami players.
Well, stop.
Yeah.
Let's just reset everything really quickly for the recruiting class, because I know that some people might only check in around signing days, because I know that people don't follow it, 365 like some of us do. Miami had the number 12 class in America sign 24 players, because you counted a scholarship forward from last year. And so then you only had 24 spots because the NCAA said you have a hard cap of 25. Meanwhile, Alabama has 27 in this class, and they're supposed to be trying to take a transfer person also, just because, apparently rules don't apply to them, but whatever. In our case, rules do apply. So we have 24 players who have signed in this class. We have a bunch of them who've already enrolled. The early enrolling deadline has now passed as I'm looking at my calendar, or the date. So those who are on campus, and they can be in spring ball, which is supposed to start on Detroit Day. That'd be 3/13, just so y'all know, because that's the Detroit area code on March the 13th. And I, have written a little bit about it. We had Stefan Cheatham also write about it on stateoftheu.com, recapping and reclassifying, or just quantifying exactly the kind of talent that Miami was able to bring in. So obviously your top two recruits would be 5-star, number 3 overall player in America, Leonard Taylor, and 5-star, number 1 safety in America, James Williams, and then a bunch of other talented guys across the board. A top 5 quarterback in that class. You got the best kicker in America taking over for his brother, and a bunch of other guys. So there's a lot to like in this class. First of all, just of the high school, the prep kids that have been signed and are coming in for Miami. So that's strong. The other thing is, the other thing that people talk about, especially in the time of the transfer portal, is recruiting from your own roster. And with everybody getting the additional year of eligibility, we were able to get pretty much, most of the contributing guys back. Zach McLeod is going to be back for a 6th year. whether he plays defensive end or linebacker, that remains to be seen. But he's probably going to be a flex guy who's going to be in between both positions, but probably more on the DN side, so we can get some more athleticism in at linebacker. De'Aaron King obviously is back for a 6th year, coming off of a ACL, MCL injury, rehabbing, but he's one of the top handful, 2 or 3 actually, probably returning quarterbacks in America. Cam Harris is back. Michael Harley's back for a 5th year, even though he's already played the first 4, so he's back again. Amari Carter, he didn't want any videos or edits, so said Manny Diaz, but he's going to be back for another year. So you're recruiting from your own roster really strongly as well. Sure, you have Gregory Rousseau, who opted out before the season. You have Jalen Phillips, who had a first-team All-American season and is going to go to the NFL draft after his 4th or 5th year in college. You have Quincy Roche, who was a 5th-year grad student already, and he's leaving as well. But yeah, most of the guys who were able to come back to Miami are coming back to Miami, minus a couple of transfers. We're going to look elsewhere for playing time. So that's a really strong thing that, we were able to get the guys to come back to the school and then have a strong recruiting class, another strong recruiting class, because, one of the recruiting rules is you have to stack classes on top of each other. And I think Miami did that.
So Cam, when it comes to your personal evaluation of players coming out of high school, so you go to 247 Sports, Rivals, ESPN. Obviously, those 3 make up the composite, and it spits out something that says, like, this guy's the 7th best tight end, and he's the 48th best player in the country, and he's the 19th best player in Florida, or whatever the case may be. So that's a starting point. That's obviously there's a high level of accuracy to that.
Mm-hmm.
What other process do you go through in terms of taking that, what I would assume to be the groundwork, and then add that to your own eyeball test of reviewing tape, or those trusted sources that you go to that say, yeah, this kid's 48th in the nation, I don't think he's really that good, or this guy's number 272, but he's a hell of a lot better than that?
I trust my eyes, and I trust some of the people that I know who go out to see some of these events. So like Andrew Ivins from 247, who I've known since he was doing FAU and high school preps for the Palm Beach Post part-time, right when he graduated from college some years ago. He's somebody that I know and have interacted with for a long time, and I trust his evaluations because I've been there shoulder to shoulder with him at these events. And, hearing him and seeing him talk about, and like also seeing some of these players, he's somebody that I trust. And then, so I also trust people that he trusts, if we're able to talk about that. Bud Elliott, who is now at 247 CBS Sports, who was at SB Nation for a long time. He's another person that I've known for almost or over a decade now, from just being around high school football and the recruiting circuit and things like that. And, he was always the guy with the hat was his thing when he was at SB Nation, but he was at every single camp and things like that. And, someone who also I've seen and heard talk intelligently, and seen him talk or heard him talk with other people, including, some college coaches, some pretty well-known college coaches now that I think about it. So he's somebody who's, input or information and viewpoint I trust. And then, obviously people who he trusts as well, but like sports isn't rocket science either. So, I mean, I also trust my eyes too, because I can look and say, okay, well, this guy, this, and like everybody has their areas of expertise. So, I know that I'm able, like with like receivers and running backs, and safeties, like that's where I personally can look more than some other people, and I'll hit it. I know for a fact, Scoop on the U, Rust. He's a Roman's good friend of mine. Roman is a contributor for us, and I know Rusty as well. But Scoop, man, that man knows quarterbacks. Like, period. He sees them. It doesn't matter. He's just like, no, and he pretty much never misses. And then there's some other thing, and then you can also just see like a Jadeveon Clowney. He's a freak. You know what I mean? Somebody of that size, and like there's some that you don't have to really be a learned person in the world of evaluation to see, no, this kid is just bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody else, and he should be 3 years in the first round draft pick. But you also look, as you grow more into your knowledge of the sport, or at least as I have, continuing, you're looking for scheme fit. where they're going to be, because you can have this big athletic kid, but like, we're going to use him, like, does his skill set fit, whatever engagement they're trying to use him for on the field and things like that. So, it's just experience over time too. And like, look, I've missed, even though I'm talking about, I'm usually able to see wide receivers. I thought Ermon Lane was the number one wide receiver in America, and I didn't think it was close. And I was wrong. And I said that, so, you learn and you grow and things like that as well. So, again, it's more art than science. So you're going to have some times where some guys who you thought were going to be great aren't. And, maybe it's for whatever reason. It's personal motivation. It's, the girls on campus. Maybe I want to party more. Maybe, like there could be some on-field thing. It could be some off-field thing that trickles down into their performance. Or maybe they were just a big fish in a small pond and they got into the big ocean. It's just like, well, there's some sharks that are bigger than you, buddy. And those kind of things happen. But yeah, if you're and always watching and learning and listening more, because I have a viewpoint. Yes, I have the criterion or what I'm looking for and things like that. But continuing to talk to people, continuing to read more and watch more, that'll update your worldview and everything so that you can continue to learn. Because even when I was a teacher, like I said, you had to be a lifelong learner. And in this, industry of blogging and recruiting, like you still have to continue to be a lifelong learner. Even though you can still come from the same viewpoint, you will have more depth and well-roundedness coming with that as well.
I was asked a question the other day on Michigan podcast, actually, that caused me to jot down a few things to kind of assess my evaluation of the process from the time that you sign the player to the time that you hit the field with that player or group of players. That goes something like this for me, and would like to get your take on this. So for any particular program, especially a big time program, you're assessing and signing just sheer talent. Let's get the most talented guys. Let's start with that baseline. We're going to get the most talented guys. But to your point as well, you look at the scheme that you run offensively and defensively to try to find a fit as well. So a guy that may be higher sought after for somebody else is not as high a commodity for you, and vice versa. Then if you really know what you're doing, you're going to find some diamonds in the rough. There are going to be some 3-stars out there that you think this guy's going to be a great player if we work with him, develop him, and do the right things. Or, you know what, this guy's a 4-star that a ton of people are going after. And sure, he's a talented kid, or he wouldn't be a 4-star, but we're not as high on him, and we're going to let him go. So that's the entire evaluation of the athlete. Then once you get them on campus, then you've got a whole presentation to them to acclimate them into your culture. How strong is your culture, your locker room, both the leadership on the player level, the coaching staff, the head coach himself, the structure of the organization. How well do you communicate, bond, lead, direct, do all those things? Not necessarily just from a football standpoint, just the culture of the program. Then next, you've got the actual football development, throwing them in the weight room, the strength and conditioning, the film room study. How well do you develop them as a football player? And then next, I got to the basically the breakdown of the offense and the defense. How strong are your coordinators in building philosophies and concepts? How well are they as tacticians in regards to, again, building an offensive philosophy, defensive philosophy, and then communicating that and getting the players to buy in and understand it and be able to execute it. And then you get to the game. How well can we prepare this team for this opponent this week? And then during the game, how well do we adjust and make in-game adjustments to get us the result that we want? And that's pretty much the model I put together, just in regards to helping my own thought process of how you get from collecting a group of talent and then getting them to succeed on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is you hope to have guys who are self-starters, who love the game and want to work, because you have restrictions on off-season work and how much you can be around the players and what you can do. So, those player-led workouts, those 7-on-7s, those installs, those, quarterbacks and receivers, those offensive linemen who are going to be all 5 out there, and we're going to work on, footwork and all those kind of things. Like, you have to do all of those things and have all those things. Phil, yes, Miami's been terrible in bowl games, but we beat y'all by 6 touchdowns. Shut up. 52-10, 4 in a row with 4 different quarterbacks. We're about to make it 5, but only with the 4th quarterback coming back again this year. Sorry.
And I love Phil because he's in here all the time and he's a faithful supporter and so forth. But when his team doesn't make bowl games,
get out of here, bro. Trash. Oh, I'm so glad that they fell off. Like, I mean, it's funny because I was going back through some of the archives on State of the U, man, and like we should have beat them a few times during that 7-year run, and just the strength and the power of Dalvin Cook, just like, and Jameis Winston, or just a fluke blocked extra point. I mean, but yeah, you just get. I mean, Dalvin Cook, God. Dog, that man, I mean, single-handedly beating Miami, 3 times. Like, I mean, and without those singular performances, and that's things that Miami fans were trying to say, bro. Like, hey, without these generational players, Jimbo's like an 8-4, 9-3 coach, and then y'all ran him off, and now it's like worse than that. Like, I don't hate to say that we told y'all so, and we saw it coming, and you're like, oh, they're just sour grapes. Da, 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 da. All right, cool. You can think that if you want to, but like y'all are living proof positive of what we were talking about 5 and 6 and 7 years ago. Y'all playing these away games and recruiting. Y'all think that y'all are Notre Dame as a national recruiting brand where you should be going everywhere for every single player and not having a local area to recruit from and then go out from. All these different kind of things. We done told y'all. You say, oh yeah, y'all Miami don't know nothing. Who don't know nothing now, bro?
There was an article on ESPN back in November that I thought was tremendous. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. They took it from the Florida State demise. Starting in 2014, you start to see the cracks on in the armor following the undefeated championship team, where they made it back to the playoff, undefeated ACC champ, but barely were escaping some marginal teams, and then down through. The missteps with Jimbo and him fighting with the administration and demanding, facilities and money and just the bad blood and relationship there on through Willie Taggart to Mike Norvell. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was a piece by Andrea Adelson and David Hale on ESPN.com. So you guys can check that out. Eddie, somos bien, you stay?
Yeah, again, my A Spaniel.
I said that we're good, and I asked him how he is.
Muy mal. All right. Oh, so to my question, before I get to the question I had jotted down and asked you before we came on, one more, procedural, structural type question, similar to the ones I just laid out, would be, how well do you think you've got a beat on looking at your football team in any given year and saying, these are our personnel losses versus this is what we gained in recruiting, plus these are the places where I think we can develop in terms of the players that are already on campus and I've already seen, to weigh out, do I think we're better or not as good?
Usually I think that I have a good pulse on it. The thing is, Miami hasn't really played too many freshmen. I know that we played some who have been really good. You know what I mean? A Brad Kaya, a Duke Johnson. Stacey Coley was good his freshman year. Maybe a handful of others, but like true freshmen. We haven't played too many. So while Miami has added talent in recruiting, I usually discount that from evaluating the team because we're not strong on playing or leveraging those guys as starters as much as maybe some other programs. And maybe that's because the coaches are gun shy, maybe because, you just favor seniority. And I know that obviously some coaches do at every level, high school, college, professional. I mean, Larry Brown from the Pistons famously truncated Darko Milicic's development because he didn't play rookies. Like, everybody knew this. So he said, okay, you can draft this 7'1" lefty kid who, like, in today's NBA, Darko he was 15 years ahead of his time, but not only was he ahead of his time, was also playing for a coach who's like, look, you had to earn your way onto the floor by showing experience, but you're a rookie and I'm not going to give you a chance to get that experience. Enjoy. You see the same thing also in college. You know what I mean? Or in college, in the world of college football, obviously, is what we're talking about. So there's going to be some coaches who lean on that. Mark Richt heavily. And so I usually don't, put in the freshmen or expect a lot from them. Now, if they play like they did in high school, then they can work their way up. It's really looking at, where guys could develop in their time at Miami. And I mean, some of it for recent years has been obviously the scheme, because with Mark D'Onofrio, the defense was terrible. With Mark Richt, it was hit or miss and ended up pretty bad. The year with Dan Enos, fellow Michigander, wasn't great. And then you get to, this year with, what's his name, Rhett Lashley, but then the defense took clear steps back, to the point where Blake Baker was, pretty much told seek shelter elsewhere, and did at LSU as a position coach. But, those scheme things have an effect as well on player development. So I think that usually, I watch this team all the time, like I've seen these kids for a long time, so I think I know who's good and who's not. But then again, it comes down to like obviously what they're doing on the practice field and in the classroom, or the meeting room, if you will, and everything. But I don't think that there's really many times that there's a player who like is a foundational player all of a sudden for Miami who's like completely off of my radar, even if they might not have been the one that I picked in the preseason roundtable. Oh, we didn't do the postseason roundtable this year. Oh, that just hit me.
Always appreciate the contributions in any way you can do it. Certainly start with the like button. Going to get to Ronan's questions. We got a couple super chats coming in. I will get to them after the question from Ronan, who's basically asking if, Cam, you can envision Miami going after any transfer portal additions and counting them forward, much like James Williams last year.
Jared Williams.
Jared. Oh, that's Jared Williams. Sorry. My bad. That's right. The Houston offensive lineman. Okay.
Sorry, I had to mute my microphone when I sneezed there. Thank you. No, because the NCAA put a hard 25 incoming counter cap on this year. So there's no numbers games. Again, unless you're Alabama, when they have signed 27, like go look up on 24/7 Sports. Like I'm not making it up. There's 14 kids who enrolled for this year. There's 13 who were otherwise signed. And then they're trying to get Henry To'o from Tennessee to be a 28th new incoming counter on their roster this year. And I've seen the bylaw. Like you can go and look up from the NCAA website. You can go find it on Twitter or on any social media. The NCAA is very clear. This year, you can add 25 players to your roster through any talent acquisition means, whether that be transfer portal, that be incoming counters from high school. However you do it, you count from 1 to 25, the end. So for us, who obviously the NCAA is going to look at it and everything, no, I do not see that there is in any way or any metric or mechanic through which we can add additional talent. Manny Diaz even spoke about it in his National Signing Day presser last week, saying, unless the NCAA does something else, no, we're full right now. Like the head coach openly said that. You can go look that up on YouTube. I think it's Canes All Access. Like he in color said that. But again, unless you're Alabama, when rules don't matter to you, then like no. So I hope that, and even if there's a bylaw change, it would probably be for the 2022 cycle. So this year or next year's class and moving forward, where you might do something or change some kind of numbers. But there's going to be trickle down or unintended impacts of that, because if you say, okay, well, it's 30 counters now, and you can use them however you want, or it's 32 incoming counters, 25 from high school, and then up to 7 in the transfer portal. Like there's going to be unintended consequences for smaller teams and other things. It's not only going to address the one thing. The one thing that you want of having additional room for Miami to add players will be addressed, but that's also going to affect and impact other teams and other situations that, if you're narrowly looking at one thing of, okay, we just want a way where we can add transfer portal guys and high school guys, there's unintended consequences that are going to happen. I don't necessarily know them all. I haven't thought of them, but this is a thing where it's not a single source issue, because if one thing gets addressed, other things are going to happen. There's going to be other fallout. So just know that. But again, I'm taking the NCAA at their printed word. I'm taking Manny Diaz at his word, and I'm taking my brain, which is a good brain and works, at knowing that no, there's no other room right now. unless something changes, and I don't think that that's going to.
Roger, appreciate you. Thanks for recognizing what we do here. Thank you so much for the super chat. Roger, thanks, Mark, for all the great content, especially on the Miami side of things. Hurricane Logan. Yeah, appreciate that. Hurricane, Cam and Mark. Here's some love for my brothers. Appreciate that, Hurricane Logan. Cam, you're hopeful starting wide receivers next year. Also, Chaney's still got to be running back one in my eyes. And what are our linebacker expectations this year with the coaching changes? So wide receivers, running back, and linebacker.
Wide receivers are going to be Charleston Rambo, Mike Harley, and insert wide receiver 3. I would like to see Keyshawn Smith get a chance. I would like to see Michael Redding III also maybe have an opportunity there. Or, hey, if they develop and they learn how to not drop the ball 16 or 18% of the time, it could be Pope or Wiggins. And we got other guys on the roster as well. I think Miami is carrying like 11 wide receivers right now. Manny Diaz said that he wanted to be there, but that's what you say when you don't have a real number 1 or 2 guy, and then you just have to go by committee. I would prefer to be in that 9, 10 wide receiver range, maybe with a red shirt or 2, so 8 on game day. But hey, it is what it is. But you're not bringing in Charleston Rambo to sit. It's just like De'Aaron King from last year. He has put up thousands of yards of receiving at Oklahoma. He's going to be your wide receiver 1. Mike Harley's going to be your wide receiver 2. And then you hope that you have another guy who's able to step in there. Hey, maybe that's a spot where one of these true freshmen. Again, you have a Romello Brinson he has the size, physicality, and game to be that X receiver that we haven't had on the roster since Amon Richards. Maybe he's a guy who steps in as that X, and then you have the Y and the Z are going to be Rambo and Harley. So it'll be something along those lines, but Rambo and Harley are going to start. I think you can set that in stone for me. Donald Chaney Jr. is the best running back on the roster. I don't really think that there's any conversation about that. I do also still think that Cam Harris is going to start, because this is, again, a spot where Miami's going to, or the coaching staff is going to look at longevity and seniority, because you don't necessarily want to run him off, because this is the age of the transfer portal and you don't want to make him mad or whatever, something like that. But I do think that Donald Chaney is the better running back of those. And then Jalen Knighton is a wonderful change of pace back. So he could be the 1A or the 2, but he's the lightning to Donald Chaney's thunder, if you will. In terms of linebackers, it's what I said last year that ended up not being what Blake Baker did, which I think had an adverse impact on the defense. But Miami should be looking to get more athletic at linebacker, because we're not, not at LSU. We're not at Alabama. We're not going to have guys who are 6'5", 250. So we need to be more athletic. But you've got guys like Avery Huff and Sam Brooks and others. So why are we not leaning on them to – because the thing with the linebacker position, you had the seniority and the experience of Shaq Quarterman and Michael Pinckney in 2019, which is wonderful. And those are, first team All-ACC and honorable mention All-ACC players. So that's great, because they performed to a high level, even though it started off a little rocky that year and then it got smoothed out. When you remove them and their experience and their size, you're not going to replace them, person for person, and that's okay, because you can lean in to this incredible increase in athleticism at the position. And that was the area of strength. And that should have informed what we did schematically, because you didn't have the size, you didn't have the experience, but you have all kinds of, look, Avery Huff is still 6'3", 210. That's plenty. You know what I mean? And plenty of size and increased athleticism. So that's where I wanted things to go last year, and it didn't. And I think that hurt the defense. I hope that it goes there this year, where we lean into the strength of the defense being the athleticism. But we'll see what happens. Ronan, going back to your question, I do see you. Again, it's not about counting someone forward. The NCAA has said clearly, in this year of 2021's recruiting cycle, this cycle that technically is still ongoing because there's a window for players to still sign, but in this offseason, you can only add 25 people regardless of where you get them from. There are no games of counting forward or counting backward. I call them games. the what would you call them? Paperwork engagements or clerical things where you could have a guy come in late and then count him towards another year, even though he's here right now. I'm going to allocate that scholarship towards the next class. All of those metrics and mechanics have been removed by the NCAA. So if you don't have a space for them in your 25, then we don't have a room for them. And the thing that you're talking about, having somebody come in and count them to a different year, as I understand it, as the NCAA has said it, and as Manny Diaz has said it, that kind of interaction or mechanic does not exist at this time in this season, which is specifically being informed and shaped by the fact that you have coronavirus and the fact that you can go over your 85 scholarship limit because everybody who's on your roster has the ability to return to the roster, and all those seniors would not count against your 85 scholarship cap if they were the ones who were going to return. So I understand what you're asking, but that does not exist in this world of the NCAA and everything, talent acquisitions, recruiting, roster additions right now, if that makes sense.
Chug Mo Beer. Appreciate the super chat there, sir.
I have water, but I'll do that later.
Yeah, after the show.
Got it.
Mark and Cam, great show. Can Miami keep this new staff together long enough in order to see the player development and recruiting needed to build a consistent contender for the college football playoffs?
No, I don't think so. I think that Rhett Lashley, his clock is ticking towards a new job. Whether it's going to be, I think this is going to probably be the last year that Rhett Lashley's in Miami. And then you have some of these other coaches who have designs on upward mobility and, the future career prospects. I don't think that this is a staff that's going to be together 7, 8, 9 years. I think that the staff is going to be together 2, 3 years tops, and then you're going to have maybe some movement, the majority of the staff, could be around. Ephraim Bonda was here for 5 years before he left to Utah State, and he was, an assistant under Diaz on defense, and then he was a co-defensive coordinator. But and it just in the world of college football, if you have good assistants, people are going to come get them. Cincinnati had an amazing defensive coordinator, and Notre Dame went and got him. Rhett Lashley was doing great things. SMU, we went to go get him. You know what I mean? So I don't think that this is something, or the staff is going to be together for a long time. Hopefully, if somebody steps up to a different job, then you're able to slide somebody in who's a great operator in that role here at Miami, even though it'd be a different individual. But like this group staying together for a long time, I don't see happening. And look, even if you look at Alabama, it doesn't happen there. You do have, even their legendary strength and conditioning coach, what was his name? Lachlan Cochran or something, he left. You know what I mean? And he was, thought to be the foundation of a lot of that program. If you look at Clemson, sure, Venables is there, but Venables came from where? Oklahoma. You had the other offensive coordinator guy who's now at USF. I forget his name, Jeff Scott. Eventually Tony Elliott's going to be a head coach, and he's going to leave, and even some of their other position coaches have left and taken other positions and things like that. So even for those teams, keeping the core, the whole unit together, I don't think is feasible, honestly, because people are going to come at you at this level. People are going to come at you from the NFL level, things like that. So it's really about keeping some of the core coaches together, talking about your head coach, coordinators, and maybe your ace recruiter on either side of the ball. And if any of those guys leave, bring in somebody of, if not 100%, peer level replacement, at least, close enough where things keep rolling.
And I got to think that if the losses are staggered, it helps, and you don't have to house and replenish all in one year.
Just think about Clemson. Like they left Jeff Scott. They lost Jeff Scott 1 year. They promote Tony Elliott to offensive coordinator. But think if they would have lost Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott, and Brent Venables in the same year, that would have been a little bit different. Even Alabama, sure, they've lost offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator. They've even lost defensive coordinator, but like they're usually not in the same year. And since they have 82 million analysts on staff. They have another high-level operator to slide in. Jeremy Pruitt wants to go to Tennessee. Cool. Bang. I got somebody for that. Mike Locksley wants to go to Maryland. Cool. Bang. I got Sarkisian, who's won a Pac-12 or the Pac-12 championship. I have him as an analyst, and I put him in as the offensive coordinator. That kind of thing is what it will take, but I don't know that Miami has the breadth of talent in the room or in the building, even in the coaching staff, to be there yet. But again, it's about keeping more of the core staff together, and like Mark said, and that's a great point, staggering the losses, because some of those losses are going to happen.
Nor does just about anybody have the money to be hiring guys that have been head coaches at Power 5 programs or with the Houston Texans, like Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, wow. I mean, look, he was there. He was at Penn State. You know, he's been other places as a offensive coordinator before. So, I mean, yeah, they got money.
Hurricane coming back for more. Appreciate that. All truth, my man. Love it. Hopefully Rambo does what King did to the quarterback room. Breakouts on O. Chaney, breakout on D. Sam Brooks. Let's ride.
I mean, this is the second time in 3 years that we're trying to have a senior leader infuse leadership to the wide receiver room. You know, 2 years ago, it was KJ Osborne coming over from Buffalo. You know, and we're going to teach those guys how to work and everything. The only guy who it seems like learned how to work from KJ Osborne was Mike Harley. And it took the wide receiver competition opening up that week before Mike Harley actually started to do all that stuff that he had learned how to do. So, like, yeah, you want to have a player-led program and everything like that, but I'm not sure that it's going to work. But also, you can't spite yourself because of a prior failure. You know, so KJ Osborne did some great things. You wanted to have that trickle-down leadership. It didn't work. But you're going to bring in Charleston Rambo because he has that same ability or potential. You know, and again, for me, it's like the Detroit Lions. Yeah, I know. I'm from Detroit, whatever. But remember, they drafted Charles Rogers second overall as a wide receiver from Michigan State. He flamed out. He got kind of addicted to drugs, and he broke his collarbone twice in 2 years, about 5 centimeters apart. And so that basically his first 3 years in the league were gone. And then it came time to draft another wide receiver. And then people were saying, well, we shouldn't draft a wide receiver. And they're like, well, no, you can't let that prior failure negatively impact your process if your process actually has a logical foundation. And then next time we drafted Calvin Johnson, who just went into the NFL Hall of Fame as a first ballot Hall of Famer. So I say that with Charleston Rambo to say, yes, you tried that same thing again before of having a senior leader come from somewhere else to help in the room improve the work ethic and performance of the wide receivers. That did not necessarily work. And that's not KJ Osborne's fault that it didn't work. I'm just saying it didn't necessarily take hold then, but we're going to try that again. And hopefully it will. Or if not, then at least we get a great season or two out of Charleston Rambo and keep it moving that way.
MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Miami Talk with Cam Underwood from State of the U here each and every week. We appreciate your contributions. Continue to fill up the live chat with the comments and questions, and I will pass them on to Cam. Smash that like button. It's one way in which it churns up the YouTube algorithms and hopefully gets this video in particular into the traffic of these suggested videos off to the side and blows it up. So you can help us that way as well. And of course, subscribe, hit the like, the bell, that is for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. So Cam, I'm sure you recognize the number there. The super chat can be a double-edged sword. So we appreciate the contribution there from SEC Dog, but yeah. 778 means something. I even recognize that number.
Yeah, that's how many yards we gave up to North Carolina. And
a lot.
The most in program history. You know, and I mean, look, and that's why I said it after that game. If you're talking about Mark D'Onofrio needed to be fired years ago, and we were giving up 500 and like low 600s, and we gave up almost 800 yards of offense, most of it rushing, which just feels worse. You know, it's one thing if it's Washington State or Texas Tech back in the day, and they're just chucking it all. But no, they're running counter and power down our throat again and again and again, and we couldn't stop it. It's a fireable offense. And Blake Baker works elsewhere now.
Yeah, I stated at the time, if you would have told me that North Carolina, that was my game of the week. I wanted to see that game more than any other game that week.
Yeah.
That if North Carolina was going to put up 62 and 778 in the yardage total, that I figured Sam Howell must have thrown for 550.
Yeah.
But when they threw the ball 19 times and it was all on the ground, most of it on the ground, that was just
that reminds me when my first year teaching at Deerfield Beach High School in 2005, my first full year of teaching. Deerfield Beach made it to the state championship game, and it was played at Dolphin Stadium, now Hard Rock, and they played against Palm Beach Gardens. And they had a do-it-all everything player, Matt Elam, who ended up going to Florida, the safety, and he played in the NFL. And he played weak side linebacker and running back, and they ran the ball every play of the game, except for they threw one play action pass for an 85-yard touchdown. And like literally, you could go look up or it was like a 70 something. It was a long touchdown. It was one play drive, 75, 80, something like that. And literally every other play that day, they ran the ball. Elam had like 20 tackles, a sack, and interception. He also had like 35 carries for 200 something yards. It was like crazy. But like in that same stadium, that's the feeling that I had watching North Carolina against Miami this year. It was just, they're going to run it. You know they're going to run it, and you're not going to be able to stop it. And it was just, it did not feel good. And it harkened back to 15 years prior for me. And that, like I said, not a positive emotion.
MSU number one fan is asking, of course, about the Michigan State game. Well, we're going to know a lot more about that in about 7 months. I don't know that there's a whole lot to talk about right now. Michigan State's not anywhere close to the program that they were.
To the end, rah, rah, rah. See, that line is weakening. We're gonna win this game. Fight, rock team, fight. Victory for MSU. Yeah, you can take that my thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm from Michigan. Like, I have friends who root for Michigan State, Aaron Fields and them. Shout out to Fields. I know they're going to try to come down and hang out for the game and everything. Go watch Sparty. But in general, I think this is a game that Miami should clearly win. I think that they're a more talented team. Miami is a more talented team than is Michigan State. The thing for Michigan State is, though, I've watched them win games like this or compete in games like this for 30-something years. You know, whether it's against Michigan, who's a more talented team, whether it's against Ohio State, where they've ruined a couple of their seasons back in the 90s and 2000s, whether it's against other ranked teams, the Drew Brees, Purdue teams. Well, I know everybody wants to say, well, it's Drew Brees and Purdue. Yeah, but he had them top 15. You know what I mean? And that was when Purdue was nothing. You know, coming up, whether it's a Penn State team coached by Joe Paterno that was pretty good, a national championship kind of a team. If you're looking to bowl games and other cross-sectional kind of games, you know, Michigan State loves being the underdog. They relish that role because they are. And look, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it because, you know, I come from, I'm a Michigan fan, and I have friends and family who went to the University of Michigan. Michigan State is little brother. They are the other school. You know, if anybody says, oh, well, you know, oh, you're from Detroit. Oh, University of Michigan. That's it. You know, it is the more well-known brand. That's what people are going to say and think. And yeah, Michigan State they have that underdog mentality. And, you know, that, and again, my personal history of the fact that I'm from Detroit and have seen more Michigan State games than probably anybody else who's, you know, around on this live stream right now, going back, like I said, 30, 35 years. That informs my skepticism, the fact that I'm on higher alert maybe than others. Again, I don't think this should be a game. I don't think this should be close. I think that Miami should clearly and easily win this game. But I've thought that about Michigan State games, about their opponents in other times, and it has ended up being differently. And for me, that's why I've circled that day on the calendar, and I want to really just hone in, because if we mess around a little bit, and Michigan State is one of the great teams in, if you let me hang around into that late third, fourth quarter, you can go back and look for years. If you let them hang around a little bit, ask Michigan, you know, even the last couple of years, you let them hang around and all of a sudden go green, go white. They're chanting and cheering and singing that fight song at the end of the day. And I don't want that. So, I mean, like I said, for me, I'm on a little bit more of high alert just because of my proximity to and visage of Michigan State. But, just if you put them on paper, Miami should win easily.
I'm going to bet that I'm either first or second in the live stream and watching a number of Michigan State games. I keep pretty close tabs on the Big Ten. 1998, 2000, and as recently as 2013 and 15, Michigan State upended number 1 and undefeated Ohio State teams.
Hello. With the kicker doing the all the way down the field. I loved that moment. Oh, that was an incredible moment. Oh, what a day.
That was just a ridiculously talented Ohio State team that was 11-0.
Right. And again, that informs my point that they were ridiculously talented. They were 11-0 until Michigan State went to the horseshoe. That's what I'm talking about. That kind of thing like that. And I think that for Michigan State, a national brand, a well-known program and team like Miami is going to have that same kind of raised status in East Lansing. I don't know what they do during that week. I don't know how they treat things differently. But like I said, for 30, 35 years, I've seen the result from what they do in those showcase weeks. Not invariably, not every single time, but I've seen it enough that I'm not scared of it, but like it's on my radar. So I know that we cannot take them lightly.
That Michigan State team bled the clock to death. And that game might have only lasted like 2 hours and 45 minutes. That was like the shortest game, you could imagine. And I remember sitting there with my son, and it was a 14-all game with about 4 minutes left. Ohio State had the ball dangerously in its own end. And after they got behind the sticks, I said to him, this game might be over. And he's like, what? And I said, it was one of those games where if it got to 2nd and 13, you're not getting a first down. It was just one of those games. Ohio State needed Mears and Smoke just to get 14 points. They didn't drive the ball for 14 points. They couldn't do anything that day. Ezekiel Elliott had 31 yards rushing. And so I'm like, they're at their own 3-yard line, and there's only 3.5 minutes left in this game. They're going to be punting from their own end zone. Sure enough, they punt it out to the 40, 45-yard line. Michigan State just bleeds the last 3 minutes, just get one first down barely, and then they kick the game-winning field goal. Game's over. Mm-hmm. Now, the one little spot in Michigan State history in which they were different, but they still never shook that tag, that label that you just depicted, was from about 2010. Actually, it was 2010. They had an 11-1 team to 2015. They actually became a power, a giant, college football playoffs and finished in the top 5, but for about 5 years there.
Yeah.
All right. New King God, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Appreciate that. How about moving my man Keyshawn Smith, the linebacker?
No, Amari Carter or Keontre Smith.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, that's your guy, Keyshawn Smith.
No. Keyshawn Smith plays wide receiver. He's not that kind of size. Although, if you remember a little bit back, Al Golden famously put David Njoku at linebacker one day his redshirt freshman year in practice. And so there's a picture of him wearing this big boxy number 50 jersey. We're all like, bro, stop. Don't do that. Don't do that. First round NFL draft pick at tight end. Yeah, put him back on offense. Thanks. Amari Carter needs to come down to the box. Put him at striker. Linebacker, just move him down from the 3rd level to the 2nd level. I think that would be advantageous for player and program, because then you're able to get, Avante Williams, Gervin Hall, James Williams, Cameron Kinchins, 2 of those guys in at safety, and have Amari Carter on the field. And, maybe him being closer to the line would alleviate some of his targeting issues. Because, when he has 15 or 20 yards to cover between where he is and where the point of contact is going to be, we've seen what happens. And I know he hits like a Mack truck, boom, he's just a bigger physical dude. Yeah. But if he's covering all that kind of ground in the secondary, how many times has he gotten ejected for targeting? 5 in his career? 6? Somewhere like that? I know it's more than 3. I guarantee you it's more than 3. So Yeah, maybe moving him down to the second level where things happen in a tighter space and there's less of that lead up for him to load up for a kill shot. Maybe that'll help him and everything. He will need to actually develop as a tackler in terms of wrapping up a little bit because even. And we gave it the State of the Year award for worst player of the year. That one run that the Williams kid from Carolina ran through everybody on our defense up the left sideline for them. And Amari Carter went in for a shoulder kill shot. And Williams was like, cool. And kept moving. If he would have wrapped up, or even if he wouldn't have missed up top, maybe you grab a leg or something and you save those extra 35 yards or something like that. P.S. Pause. By the way, excuse me. Stop. I forgot about Bubba Bolden being back in the secondary at safety. So you're going to have two of Bubba Bolden, number one, because he needs to be out there. Gervin Hall, James Williams, Avante Williams, and Cameron Kinchins. So I forgot the most talented and best player in that group. But that just further supports the point of if you move Amari Carter out of the way, then you're able to get some of these guys who are all, top 5, 6 safeties in America, including back-to-back number 1 safeties in America, Avante and James Williams, both same last name, not related. And then Cam Kinchins, who's a top 5 safety in this class, who some locally think might even be a better pure safety than James Williams, who is the number 1 rated safety in America in front of him. So yeah, moving Amari Carter out of the way down towards the second level at striker or linebacker, sign me up.
Ronan, thank you so much, Ronan. You're here all the time for the Miami shows, for the Florida State shows, repping the Canes, at the Ohio State shows, repping the Canes.
I love it.
And we've done the conversion on this, Cam. When Ronan gives us $10, that's a euro, $10. It's $13.78. So it actually benefits us. Nice. Great show, guys. Even if Cam ruined my dreams of getting a new linebackers from the portal, keep up the great work. Go Canes. Kim, I love the personnel breakdowns and the player profile, so I can become more knowledgeable about any given team. But of course, here it's Miami. You ready to give me 2 on the 2 2022 commits?
I'm sorry, which ones now?
The 2 hard commits for 2022.
Who are the hard commits for 2022?
They are Brandon Cleveland and Jamal Johnson.
Oh, Brandon Cleveland is a defensive tackle, I believe, that we took him as. He's like 6'4", 270, I want to say. So he's from Carrollwood in Tampa. Yeah, okay, well, 6'3", 260. I was close. Yeah, so he's a guy who I know has big-time Power 5 offers, committed in August, 10 days before my birthday, on August 17th. He committed on August the 7th of last year. Was already rated a 4-star guy, and he doesn't play at the biggest school over at Carrollwood Day School over there, but he has a great skill set that I think will fit. Obviously, if he's already 260 as a high school junior, he's a cheeseburger away from 285 or 300 when he gets into just eating more, and then like a college lifting and nutrition program. So looking at him as inside player. And then Jamal Johnson from the Championship Factory at Chaminade Madonna in Hollywood. So that's another player from a wonderful program that has incredible player development over there. Defensive end, 6'2", 240. So hopefully he grows another inch or two. But again, he's a demonstrated performer on a 3-time, 4-time state championship team. Well, he's only a junior, so he's only been there for the last 3. But, he played with Thad Franklin. He played with Andres Borregales before Borregales went to Champagnat, so he could enroll early. There's other guys, Alan Hay, who's a defensive tackle signee in this class. He played right next door to him and everything. So, again, just a great championship level program, one that was very good for a while in the 90s and early 2000s with their former coach, Mark Wandolo, before he went over to Cypress Bay and everything. So like a Tavares Gooden went to Chaminade. Wait, no. He went to Chaminade or he went to St. Thomas? Good. T-Good. I don't remember. I think that he went to Chaminade. I'm pretty sure. Wait, or John Beast. Somebody went to Chaminade. A linebacker came to Miami who was really good. It was either Tavares Gooden or John Beeson, one of them two. I guarantee you went to Chaminade back in the day. And then Jamal Johnson is just the latest player from there. But you also have plenty of other guys on that team that you're looking at in this year and in future years. So yeah, having those two guys already committed is a good start, and they're both defensive linemen, so that's a good place to build out from. But you also want to see where things go with plenty of other players in this class and out, and hopefully things work out, and especially with a couple other edge rushers, because there's some premium edge rushers in this class. So I said it last week, and I stand by it, and I know that it is a lofty goal. But again, this is the University of Miami recruiting we're talking about, and I got to make it happen between number 1 defensive end Shamar Stewart, Kenyatta Jackson, and Marvin Jones Jr. And Kenyatta Jackson also plays where? At Chaminade. And Marvin Jones Jr., yes, son of Marvin Jones, and goes to American Heritage. Those are your top defensive ends around. I need 2 of those 3 on my roster. And I know other people are going to say, what about Dante Anderson down at Homestead? What about what about his teammate, the defensive tackle? No. We're going to talk about those 3. For me, we're going to talk about those 3 differently. So I got to have 2 of those 3. Hell or high water, make it work. I don't care if you need to drop a McDonald's bag like you're Tennessee, if you need to call the bag man. Shout out to Stephen Godfrey. If you haven't read that piece on SB Nation from years ago, meet the bag man. You need to do it. I don't know if you are the bag man, meet the bag man, know somebody who knows somebody who's a bag man. But 2 of them 3 players need to end up signing with Miami, period. And even though you have a defensive end in this class already have a defensive tackle in this class already, I still need 2 of those 3 and more. But again, pretty much your positions are going to be loaded down here like they always are. The one where I think that we might need to look elsewhere is wide receiver, because there are not as many or as great of wide receiver options in South Florida as there normally are. So even if you want to get a Mike Jackson from Palmetto, who played with the Palmetto 5, Rashard Smith, Leonard Taylor, all those boys and everything, even if you want to get him on this roster at 5'10", 160, who can fly, that's cool. But you're going to need to look elsewhere to augment that kind of talent in this class at wide receiver, especially. So, I really got to dig into this 2022 class a little bit more. But that's just a little bit on kind of where I stand with it right now.
Now, courtesy SI and a few folks in the live chat, yes, Chaminade Madonna's own John Beeson.
Bang! Okay, I knew it was one of the 2. And T. Good went to St. Thomas. Got it. Okay, got it.
Chugmo Beer. So it's my observation from interacting with college football fans every day that Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State are hated. Everybody hates their rival, of course, but for some reason, people love to make fun of Georgia.
Yeah,
they won a national championship since 1980, and they recruit all this great talent. Is what people like to jump on.
I mean, where's the lie? They do recruit all this talent, even when Mark Richt was there. Before he was ushered out, and you've taken that kind of recruiting and even elevated it slightly with Kirby Smart, which is crazy to say because Mark Richt was no slouch as a recruiter when he was at Georgia. But look, you get to the national championship game, end up losing to Alabama. Mark Richt, a tipped ball from Aaron Murray that should have been dropped, instead of caught and run out the clock, something like that. Actually, that catch hurt the team more than helped, and things like that. So they've been close, but close isn't good enough. And
that's tough to take. If you wrap up a coaching career, and you've won 3 national championships and you could have won 4 or 5, then that hurts, but you got one. As long as you got one. Right. Mark Richt goes to his grave. And that playing with that Alabama team down to the wire, down to the 4-yard line. And like you say, he either needed the ball not to be tipped, not to be caught, hit the ground, something else. Give us another chance.
Like any of the 5 things on that play that happened, if they went the other way, we're having a different conversation here, But yeah, no, Georgia is easy to make fun of because especially, they obviously are a high-performing program, so they are one of the elite programs around. But if you're talking in terms of championships and things like that, Miami won all 5 of our championships, really 6, but whatever. This conversation is a different day. But all of our championships have come subsequent to when Georgia last won their one. But they're talking like, oh, we win all the time. what do you win all the time? The SEC East? Not even necessarily, because we can go back through the 90s with Tennessee and Florida, and in the 2000s with Urban Meyer. Like, y'all weren't beating them then. So, like, what are you winning? Like, 10-win seasons? Those are great. I mean, I would like to have more of those for Miami, but, like, is that the real line of demarcation? Is that the real thing? You know what I mean? Like, it's just the kind of bravado from Georgia seems a little bit outsized compared to their actual results, even for being a team, even through Rick's tenure and then subsequent, who's averaged, 10.2 and 3 a year? Like 10.2 wins and 3.6 losses a year, whatever it is. Like, damn good. Damn good. And yeah, overall, I would like that record, but like, y'all ain't won a ring in.
Georgia wasn't very good from the late 80s until Mark Richt stepped on campus in 2002. They had a pretty down decade and a half.
Yep.
Not horrible, but a lot of 7 and 5s kind of stuff. And he finished in the top 10 8 times in 15 years. So they were consistently good. But again, they had a couple near misses, couldn't get it done.
Right.
Real quick here again, Chuck Mobeer, thank you so much for the super chat. And also Chuck C chiming in with, hi, Mark and Cam. Saw some rumblings from Ed Reed this week. Once the coach sounds like, he said head coach or DC. Would Manny try to make that happen, or do you think Ed may pull a Deion Sanders somewhere?
We don't have the room right now. And unless you're going to shuttle somebody out, I don't see where we're going to get the room. And, we did get rid of Blake Baker, or he was told, to seek shelter elsewhere, or decided to seek shelter elsewhere and did whatever. He gone. End of the day. But you already hired Travis Williams as the linebackers coach to replace him. So you have 10 assistants. So again, unless you're going to go down the line and fire somebody that you just brought in or reassign them or whatever, you don't have the room for that. Obviously, he's not going to have the head coach's seat here right now. That's just not going to happen. And again, Ed Reed has experience coaching because he was a defensive backs assistant in the NFL with the Bills for a year. So I'm not saying that he doesn't have any experience or anything, but a head coaching job or DC job here at Miami, I think, is maybe a little lofty right now. So yeah, if he were to look for one of those positions, then it would be elsewhere. And hey, maybe it would be an HBCU. Maybe it would be somewhere around. I know he lives in Atlanta and everything. What about Georgia Southern? What about Georgia State? What about hey, even if you want to go to a smaller, if you just want to get the job, why don't you call up Clark Atlanta University or Morehouse College at the AUC, the Atlanta University Center down there, one of the HBCUs? Maybe that could be a thing. But I just don't. And I think that would be maybe underneath his status. But I don't necessarily see a path forward here unless Manny wants to be ruthless and just say, hey, insert coach here who's already been on the staff. Tough cookies, get out. Which is what it would have to be. I don't know that he has that kind of ruthlessness about him. So, we'll see. I wanted to answer this question for Jeff Vosen, who sent it to my Twitter before the show because he's at work. So his question was, for me, in the last 5 years, of all of the players who have transferred out of Miami, which one would I bring back if I could? Which is an interesting prospect because you have to look at who's left. But for me, I think the answer would have to be DJ Johnson, the defensive end turned tight end who left here and went to Oregon. He was 6'5", 260-ish from Sacramento. He came out here and everything, played or redshirted for the year and then transferred back to the West Coast. He's at Oregon. Like I said, he's playing tight end now. But, if we're just looking at what the development has been like along the defensive line, especially with big, twitchy defensive ends. And this is a kid who was winning the 110 or the 100-meter dash in high school at 6'5", 260. in his classification. Now, he didn't win states or anything, but like there's video of him winning the preliminaries and finals at more than a couple high school track meets, which is impressive for a man that size. So that speaks to his kind of athleticism and things like that. He's a basketball player, he's flying above the rim and he's dunking and everything like that. But yeah, just thinking about him here developing a la any defensive end recently, Gregory Russo, Jalen Phillips, hopefully what we're seeing with Jafari Harvey, a different kind of athlete. But, you look at Trent Harris and his development when he was here and things like that. Like, just look at the guys who've gotten better, especially at that big edge rusher position, and guys who are twitchy and athletic like that. He would be the one who I'm like, you know what? Let's add him to that rotation. And then you would have had maybe a Roche, Phillips, Russo, and DJ Johnson this year at defensive end, and like extrapolating out where he could have been if he would have stayed here and worked with, the coaches. Oh man, that to me, that would be the one. That would be the one.
Not to disparage DJ Johnson, but if he is at the top of the list of players you hated to lose in the transfer mode in the last 5 years versus all the gains, you mentioned Roche, you mentioned King, you mentioned Phillips, it's not even close in terms of the talent that's come via transfer versus what's been lost.
Yeah. And it was also a little bit of an easy question because, like, outside of that, like, who have we really lost? Like, Brian Hightower had a touchdown his first game as a freshman against LSU in that game. Okay. He's a guy who left. I could have been funny and said Jeff Thomas because he entered the portal and was going to go to Illinois and then came back. Who else? Vincent Testaverde. Who else did we like? Has Miami really lost off the roster who went and played somewhere else? Like, there's not that many, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, I would say DJ Johnson would be the one of those. Yeah, who like previously is transferred elsewhere off of the roster. That would be the one who I would think to get back.
Now, Lorenzo Lingard could prove to be one.
He could, but I'm very comfortable with where we are as a running back room. And, he transferred to Florida and ostensibly thought he was going to start. And I don't know that he took a meaningful snap at running back last year. And then was tweeting out about switching to linebacker or something, which I don't know if it was facetious or not. But, the 5-star high school running back was not who we saw in Miami. And even when he flashed a glimpse of that, then you had a special teams player, a practice team player hurt his knee, hurt Lingard's knee, Lingard's freshman year. And that's what happened because that is what happened. And then that was pretty much that. So, yeah, he could end up being that guy, but it's not like we're hurting for defensive ends. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, if we had DJ Johnson, then this position would be in a good spot. Like, we have guys who are about to go first round in that same spot. But yeah, of the guys who have transferred out, I would say that Jameel Carter, I hear you. I just would, again, stand on what I've said about if I had to choose, it would be DJ Johnson. But Hightower on that list, I see where you're coming from also.
This is some great football talk, folks. Hope you appreciate it. I know that many of you do. Hit the like button. We appreciate the contributions as well. This is what keeps it going, are your individual contributions, your engagement. And I am going to look for a sponsor as well to keep this baby going. We've got the hour plus from Cam Underwood from State of the U. Hop on over to State of the U. Cam, I'll give you the floor to let us know of any highlights over there right now.
No, that's it. So, we're always grinding. So, stateoftheu.com, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at the State of the U. I got to get back and tweet a little bit more. I had, this secret day job is keeping me away from my phone a little bit. So I haven't been able to do too much. Underwood Sports is where I tweet sports and also reality TV. So hopping into the season of Married at First Sight because Chris is the worst. And then I got to tweet about a couple other things. I was going to say exactly what I'm watching tonight, but I don't want you to ruin it because it's on my DVR. So I'm going to watch that. But if you want to find out what I'm watching at Underwood Sports, I'm going to hop on there in a little bit when I get some dinner. And yeah, so, we're doing that all the time, and we'll talk to you guys next week or sometime soon.
I got dragged into that show for one season, and it was entertaining. It was interesting.
I watched it maybe like seasons 3 and 4 of Married, or no, it was like seasons 1 through 3. I want to say of Married at First Sight that I watched. I stepped away from a while, but at the opener, the premiere, I just saw my Twitter go crazy. My reality TV Twitter that I follow going crazy talking about this Chris dude, and I was like, he can't be as bad. But everybody was on it, and then like multiple tweets. I was like, all right, fine. Whatever. Wednesday night, I'll check out and see if he's that bad. That man is worse. I couldn't believe.
What, he's just cruel?
I mean, he was saying something, first of all, he had said some ruthless stuff to his now wife. First of all, like I'm not going to ruin what he said, but in the premiere, I had to go back and watch the clip. I was like, he didn't really say that. He didn't really say that. He really said that. And I was just like, bro, like in that situation and scenario, like word, like, okay. And then to start the second episode, he's talking about, well, I got some really earth-shattering, messed up news. And so the wife is just like, are you good? Like, I'm here to support you, whatever. He's like, nah, I want to talk about it. She's like, but like, does it affect you or us? He's like, yeah, like it does. It's like, so can we dialogue? Can we talk or whatever? He's like, nah, I'm not gonna tell you. And it was just like, it kept going, but it started there and it escalated further. It was like, this man, like, and then he like finally decided to tell her. He takes her to the restroom, and then like you could hear him saying, take off your microphone. He'd turned on every sink. He flushed in the toilet, like, because you watch reality TV, so that's the one place you go that they can't follow you, and the one thing you can do, or da-da-da-da. And I'm like, bruh, this man, like, and again, it goes up from there. Like, he's the worst. He's the worst. He's the worst. He was wearing a fly jacket, though, when they had their dinner. He actually had it as like a full suit, but I'm like, nah, if you would just had that as the blazer and then put it with like some flat black slacks or something, like you'd have done something. But yeah, nah, he's pretty terrible. So you can look up and see exactly how and why, but it's pretty bad.
Good stuff, Cam. Always appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man, no problem. So hopefully you got you guys ready to watch a little Miami Hurricanes football, so you can go check that out, and also a little reality TV because that's always on. So like I said, we'll talk to you in a week or two.